Hello and welcome to the 2021 CNAV conference. I'm Sandy Miller, CNAV committee member and editor of the Warrandyte Diary. I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Coming from Warrandyte, we're in Wurundjeri country, so I acknowledge the Wurundjeri and the Woiwurrung peoples of Australia. Wherever you are, please take a moment to pay respects to the elders of the lands that you are currently in. It's been a tough year for everyone. Newspapers in Metro Melbourne especially, but also in regional Victoria, have endured lockdown after lockdown, making community journalism all the more challenging as we work from home and struggle to get face-to-face interviews, photographs, or even access to a photocopier. And then, of course, the big Facebook shutdown of news, creating havoc for news outlets, big and small. Sure, it was just for a week, but the ramifications remain. And then there was the court ruling about social media moderation and defamation, and a rethink of how we engage with social media. But I can say we've had some great support from the government since the start of the pandemic in the form of COVID advertising, and a big shout out to Bill Penrose for advocating for CNAV members and coordinating these ads. We'll hear some more from CNAV President James Poynter at the AGM as he hands his he's got his hands full at the moment pushing buttons to make all this conference possible. So well done, James. However, he did record this short address earlier.
Hi, everybody. My name's James, and I'm the CNAV President for 2021. It's been a really tough year. And although it feels like we're nearly there, we're not quite there yet. We're still having to live under COVID protocols, like this conference, for example. Once again, we find ourselves having to present in a virtual space, which is not ideal. We prefer face-to-face meetings. We are, after all, community organisations, community newspapers. We thrive in a community space where we get to engage on a very personal level. And although these virtual conferences are great to allow us to maintain those sorts of relationships, it's not quite the same. But we're hoping that next year, things will be back to something a little more traditional. The media landscape has changed a lot in the last couple of years. Mainstream media has suffered greatly. Media in general, not just news, has suffered greatly. And you would say, or you would expect, that community media would suffer in a similar way. But from what we've seen and from what I've heard in conversations with other newspaper editors, community media is actually thriving. People are re-engaging with their local papers because in the depths of a coronavirus pandemic, what people actually want is community news. And this is what we do. And to really support that analogy, the number of entries that we received for the awards this year has been phenomenal. And the feedback from the judges has been exceptional. They are really impressed with the job that you are all doing to produce quality community publications. That is an achievement that you all need to give yourselves a pat on the back for. So thanks for taking the time out to be with us today. And we really hope you get a lot out of this year's conference. The CNAV committee is always looking for new members. It's always looking for ways to engage with its member publications, to engage with larger organizations like state government, like the CFA, like anybody really who works in a community space. And if you've got any innovative ideas about how we can do this more effectively, then this is a really good time to join the CNAV committee. It's largely Zoom-based these days, so you don't even have to travel into Melbourne. But that's all for later. Enjoy the conference.
So today we've got a great lineup for you. Shortly, we'll be joined by Lisa Letgiri of the CFA media team. We'll discuss how newspapers can help provide CFA messaging to their communities, both in the lead up to summer and during emergencies. This will be followed by a workshop at 11:30 by media guru, Jeanette Sievers. And she'll continue on from last year looking at strategic planning and how planning might have changed because of COVID. We'll then take an extended break so you can go and get some lunch, and then pop back in at 1:30 when Jens Toft Hansen will be hosting a networking session where you can catch up casually with one another. And then at 2:30, I'll be hosting a session about working with submitted content, We can share ideas about how to choose what stories to run, dealing with press releases and letters to the editor, checking for plagiarism and copyright issues when you receive photographs, articles, or other content. Jens will then be back in the networking room for another casual chat session before the AGM at 4 o'clock. We'll be voting on the new committee positions for next year, so have a think about nominating, talk it over with one of the current committee members in one of the networking sessions, and they'll be able to tell you about what we do and what the role is. What I can say is the pandemic has made committee meetings so much easier. Rather than travel to Melbourne for meetings, we're all able to attend via Zoom. So if you've not stood for committee in the past because you lived in Mildura or Malakuta and didn't fancy the commute, we've decided to continue with Zoom meetings going forward. So there's nothing stopping far-flung members from joining the committee. Following the AGM, the session we've all been waiting for, the awards. So who'll take out Best Newspaper, who'll take out Best Feature. We're continuing with video comments from the judges, which was very well received last year, as the judges have some great ideas of how papers can continue to improve and what makes for a winning entries. If you do win a prize, whoever wants to make the acceptance, please raise your virtual hand so we can open your microphone and give you centre stage. But for now, we'll take a short break and we'll be back at 10 o'clock with Liselette Geary from the CFA. Bye for now.